Hi guys, so this is about the reproductive system. Let me share screen. Let me see where is that. I think that's this one. Sure. All right. Let me do it again. Start sharing. This one here. Easier. This way. That doesn't matter. All right, so this is the reproductive system. We will have this is the first portion that we will talk about the gonads and the procedure to produce the sperms and oocytes, the gametes of male and female. All right, so gonads are the reproductive organs of male and female, the primary one, and in the male, the gonads are testes or testicles, and in females is ovaries. Now, this gonads has two major functions in both sex. The one function is to produce the gametes, the sperms or the oocytes. The procedure to the process to produce these sperms is called the spermatogenesis, and the procedure or the process to produce the oocytes is called the oogenesis. It also comes with the folliculogenesis. We will talk about that. In addition to produce or maturization of these gametes, these reproductive organs also have another function, which is to produce the sex hormone. The male sex hormone is testosterone, the female is estrogen. We will talk about that. So just need to know that it's the organ to neutralize these haploid cells and maturize these cells, as well as to produce the sex hormone to prepare the body to develop these sex characteristics. So let's start by looking at the male's reproductive system. So we will first look at male, and then we look at the female. So this is the male reproductive system. So the sperms, as well as the spermatogenesis, are facilitated within these seminiferous tubules within the testicles. And then these matured sperms will swim through the epididymis, and then go through the Vas Deferens, right here, Vas Deferens, and enter into the pelvic cavity inside of the body and cavity from the scrotum, and then go after enter into the pelvic cavity, it will go behind the bladder, the urinary bladder. And behind that, you probably can see it's kind of like shading color here. Is it will mix with the seminal vesicles. These are the glands to produce the fluid mixed with the sperm, and then it will go through the prostate glands, enter into the urethra, and then during this intercourse, it will eject the sperm into the female's vagina. So that's the anatomical organ and anatomical structure of the male reproductive system. All right. And here is zoom in to look at the testicles, this gametes, or gonads, these gonads. And you can see that here we have this seminiferous tubules. This is the region where we can have the production of sperms. If we do the truncation, we can probably later look at that. If we do the sectional view, you can see that how sperm is produced inside of this seminiferous tubule. But just keep in mind that we will talk about that. And this tubule, multiple layer of the cells form this tubule, and in the tubule wall, and then the sperm will go through this retitestis, through these efferent ductules, go through the epididymis, and then enter into the Vas Deferens. So that is the anatomy of this reproductive system. So basically, if it's quit, basically it will be very much like identify different region. You need to know that what is what, and so that's that. So after the sperm going through the Vas Deferens, here is called the Vas Deferens. It can also be called, where's that? The Vas Deferens. It can also be called the ductus deferens. Okay, it can be called the Vas Deferens or called the ductus deferens. So after entering into the Vas Deferens, it will enter into the pelvic cavity. In our earlier lecture, we talked about body cavity. Body has different cavities, and this is a pelvic cavity. So it will go around. We have two Vas Deferens. It will go around behind the bladder, and then it will go through each one of you. It will go through the seminal vesicles, and the seminal vesicles will provide some of this fluid to mix with the sperm, and then they will go meet each other and go through the prostate. And before enter into the urethra, it will also get some fluid from the urethral glands. This urethral glands will provide some fluid that's provided with some lubricant into this semen, the fluid mixed with the sperms. So that's that. And so here we go. The Vas Deferens go behind the bladder and get some fluid from the semivesicles, and then two of these Vas Deferens will enter into the prostate, And when the way they enter into it is they will go through a very short segment called the ejaculatory ducts, and then eject into the urethra. This will penetrate through the prostate gland. Prostate gland will also provide some of this fluid to mix with the sperm, and then enter into the urethra. So that's that. So in addition to the sperms that will be produced, mixed into with this fluid, some of this fluids coming from the glands. There are three major glands. The major one is the seminal vesicles. We have two seminal vesicles. They provide about 70% of the semen. The semen is the combination of the sperm and the fluid. And so these seminal vesicles provide fructose. This will be used by the sperms to generate ATP in order to swim. Sperm production, sperm maturation will also be facilitated by this fluid, this proteins, fructose, and yeah. It will also mix with the prostaglandin, and this one can protect the sperm from the female immune system, because when this sperm enter into the female system, female immune system may recognize these sperms as intruders. So prostaglandin can suppress immune response, and so to protect these sperms. All right, prostate will also provide some fluid. Major one is the citrate and the zinc. Urethral glands provide the lubricant fluid. So mixed together form this semen. And then during the intercourse, then the ejection will occur to eject this semen into female's vagina. This stimulation coming from the sensory, and a lot of the muscle contraction will occur. This muscle contraction basically will propel the sperm moving forward. This muscle will kind of propel the sperm in the epididymis, Vas Deferens, and the ejaculatory ducts to propel the sperms moving through the urethra into the female's vagina. So that's basically the gross anatomy and their function. Now let's look into more detail about how sperm is formed. So remember that sperms are located in the originated from the seminiferous tubule inside of the testicles. So this tubule, if we do the cross section, we can see that sperm is not the only cells here. There are two major other cells. Sperm coming from the spermatogonia, the spermatogonia. This is the sperm stem cell. This stem cell will reproduce the stem cell by itself, as well as to reproduce the sperm cells. So just give you a heads up that in male we have this spermatogonia in adult male, but in female this oogonia, these oocyte stem cells finish their job before the birth. So after birth, like adult female, the oocyte number will be restrained. I mean, like will be fixed. There will be no more oocyte production. However, sperm is different to that. There will be continuously continuous replenishment of the sperm throughout the adulthood of the male. So these sperm metagonia are located in the basement membrane, very like and they will swim into the center of the tubule. While they moving into the center tubule, these cells gradually maturation. So that's from this like a round shape of this primary spermatocytes to become the matured sperm cells. So that's sperm. In addition to that sperm cells, we also have two supporting cells. So these two supporting cells are not haploid. You need to know that sperms are haploid. These cells are, one is called this one is more important. That's Sertoli. Sertoli basically stay there. So this is not the sperm. Sperm will go through that to become the sperm. The Sertoli will be the one to help the development of the sperm cells. So that's Sertoli. The other one also very important is Leydig cells. Right here, Leydig cell. When you see this, when you learn this, you can kind of like keep in mind that male female basically has a lot of like similarity, even though the location, the shape are very different, but there are something comparable when we learn about the female. Okay, like a female has two oocytes, male has two testicles. The male has Sertoli, female will have the follicle cells. Male have the Leydig cell, female have we will learn about that, the cells to support the oocyte development. All right. So that's that. So we have Sertoli that support the sperm maturation as well as the Leydig. Leydig is the one also called the interstitial cells. This is the one to produce testosterone. So we have, so that's that. All right, so let's see. So cells in the seminiferous tubule are these cells. The major one is the sperm coming from the spermatogonia stem cells. And so you can see that, I think there is another picture is better, like this one here. All right, so let's look at this one. So you can see that spermatogonia are located in the basement membrane, and here we have these stem cells, so they can reproduce, they can replenish itself. These spermatogonia can be differentiated into the primary here, the primary spermatocytes. And while it differentiates into become more oriented into the sperm cells, it also moves from the basement membrane into the lumen of the seminiferous tubule. So that's that. And here you can see that this sperm has to go through the tight junction between the Sertoli cells. So Sertoli cell, in a way, to provide the nutrients, enzyme necessary for the sperm to differentiate into the sperm cell, they also form this tight junction, kind of like checking, make sure that the sperm really developed in the to meet the requirement that is, the same size or big enough in order to go through, mature enough in order to go through. So that's that. So the primary will conduct the meiosis. Meiosis 1, 2n times 2 become 2n, become n times 2. And then meiosis 2, n times 2 become n, right? Then each of these, the immature one is called the spermatids. Each one of these will form these sperm cells. So that's that. Okay, let's go back to here, this one here. So we have the spermatogonia. It will go through the Sertoli to form these sperm cells. Sertoli, the function is to nurturing the sperm development. In addition to Sertoli, we also have Leydig cells right here. These Leydig cells, also called the interstitial cells, their function, the major function is to secrete the sex hormone, male sex hormone, the testosterone. And in addition to that, we also have some muscle cells, myeloid cells, and to propel the sperm movement from the seminiferous tubule into the Vas Deferens and away to the uterus and propel its movement. So that's that. All right, we talked about this one already. So what do you need to know about this one? You need to know that Sertoli is one kind of like holding the sperm development. Another thing you need to know is that these spermatogonias are located in the basement membrane, like outside, but they will moving into the lumen, the center of the tubule, while the sperm is maturized. And yeah. All right, we talked about this one already, right? Yes, I think so. Sorry about that. All right, so this is the summary about this spermatogenesis, the production of these sperm cells. So spermatogonia will, it has 2n, and it will conduct this mitosis. So it will go through this mitosis, and it will produce 2 identical daughter cells. These two daughter cells, one will replenish these sperm metagonia. The other one will be the one to pursue its destination to be differentiated and to conduct the meiosis to produce the sperm cell. So that's that. So the spermatogonia will produce the primary spermatocytes, and then these primary spermatocytes will conduct this meiosis, right? One will form, in the end, go through this meiosis. One will form 4 daughter cells. Each one has a haploid. A mature sperm cells has this structure. It contains a head, a mid piece, and a tail. And in the head, it has this, in the tip of the head, it has this acrosome. This is large vesicles, contains some enzymes in order to break through the egg in order to kind of like dump the DNA with the inside of the nucleus of the ovum, the final form of the oocyte. So this is the acrosome. Then here is nucleus. Nucleus contains the DNA, haploid. And the middle piece, the mid piece here, contains a lot of the mitochondria. So mitochondria is the organelles to produce the ATP, because the sperm need to swim over a long distance in order to conduct this fertilization. And the swim is conducted by these tails. These tails is called flagellum. And yeah, so this is very common, like in other cells, we see similar, like we may also see similar tail structure, flagellum. And these movements require energy. Energy is provided by the ATP, provided by ATP through the mitochondria. So that's that. All right, so that's that. Now, after knowing all this anatomy and spermatogenesis, next up is how do our body regulate the reproductive system development. All right, so we have the baby, right, and the growing, and each one will gradually reach the puberty and to develop these sex characteristics and be ready for the reproduction, right? And how is that our body regulate that? There are many influence from different parts of the body to control or regulate it. The major one will be the hormone. So this will be related to the endocrine system that we just learned about. So this is good, like a review of the endocrine system if you forgot, but if you shouldn't. When we learn about the endocrine system, we learned that in the brain there's a region very important to release the hormone. That is the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Now, in the pituitary gland, especially in the anterior pituitary gland, it releases many different kinds of hormones. Among those, two hormones that is especially important for the sex development. These two hormones are follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, and the luteinizing hormone, LH. So just by the name, you probably would think that how would these to do with male, right? Because follicles, there's the follicle in male. Luteinizing hormone, how is that to do with the testicles, right? But we will find out. These two hormones, FSH and LH, are secreted from the anterior pituitary gland, and that is controlled by the gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH, secreted from the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus produces GnRH, immediately acts on the anterior pituitary gland to cause it to produce the LH, FSH, and this It's also collectively called the gonadotropin, which is right here, gonadotropins. All right. So this gonadotropin will act on, if it's male, it acts on the testicles. If it's female, it acts on the ovaries. We will learn about the ovary part when we talk about the female, especially when we talk about the after puberty, the menstrual cycles. But in the male, it's on here. Right, so we will learn that how FSH and LH acts on the testicles. How is that regulate the sex development? Now, inside of the testicles, basically this is major player, right? Not that complicated. We have sperm, we have leadage, we have Sertoli, right? Very simple. Now, FSH and LH will act specifically on two cells. FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. Just by now, it stimulates the follicle. And if you kind of know that follicle is the follicle to carry the oocyte, right? So in the male, this will be the FSH to facilitate the sperm development. In the female, it will be the follicle to carry the oocyte development. In the male, it will be the Sertoli to help the sperm development. So FSH acts on the Sertoli to help, to kind of remind the Sertoli that you got to do the job to help the sperm development. All right. It's called the Spermatogenesis. LH. Now, Sertoli has its job. LH will act on the other one, that is the leadage cell. Leadage cells to produce the testosterone, the male sex hormone. So that's that. So this will be the easy quiz question, that where does the FSH act on in the male, and where is the LH act on in the male, and what are the consequences of that? All right, that's that. So this one showing you that the hypothalamus release the gonadotropin releasing hormone GnRH. GnRH acts on the anterior pituitary gland, which then release the gonadotropin, including FSH and LH. FSH, the follicle stimulating hormone. If it's follicle, is for the oocytes, for the gamete development. If it's male, then FSH acts on the sperm development. And the cell to support the sperm development is Sertoli. So it acts on the Sertoli to promote sperm development, spermatogenesis. LH, on the other hand, will act on this leadage. Leadage will produce the testosterone. Now, testosterone can have profound effects through the body, not just the Sertoli, but it will, support development of the very important the Sertoli, and to help this overall development of these male sex characteristics. So that's that. And these will send negative feedback. We learned about that in the endocrine system, that this hormone will send a negative feedback in order to maintain a stable amount in the blood. If there's too much, it will suppress hypothalamus and the pituitary gland to reduce the production of the LH and the FSH. So that's that. So this one just a quick comparison of the FSH and the LH. I just want to kind of give you a heads up. We will talk about the female part later, but just give you an idea that FSH acts on the follicle cell. It's also called the granulosa cells. My eye is not that good. Yes, granulosa cells. So it's also called the follicle cells. That's a follicle surrounding oocytes to promote the folliculogenesis. Now, FSH in the male, it will be the Sertoli to promote the sperm genesis, spermatogenesis. LH acts on the leadage to produce the sex hormone. The LH in female will act on the theca cell. I did not mention about this name, but now you see it. Theca cells. That doesn't really directly produce the female sex hormone, but it produces this androstenedione through the granule cells to produce the estrogen. So basically, the purpose I want to put this picture side by side is that in male we have Sertoli and the leadage. In the female we have the follicle cell or the granulosa cell and the theca cells. So kind of like you can kind of always find some comparable item or parts in male compared to the female. All right. We will talk about this part in the female. So just don't worry about that. But now just male. All right, very quick, female. All right, so that was easy, right? Now female reproductive organs are the ovaries. It's like a male, we have 2 testicles. Female, we have 2 ovaries. These 2 ovaries are all located in the pelvic cavity. And ovaries is one to help the production of the gametes. Here is the oocytes, as well as to produce the sex hormone. All right, so let's look at that. Now, in addition to that, we also have, this is the uterus. All right, a little bit like an overlap. No, wait, but it's okay. So uterus is where we have the implantation. Once after the fertilization, the fertilization will occur in the fallopian tube. The oocyte will meet the sperm in this tube. Then the cell will multiply and implant in the uterus, and the embryo will develop inside of the uterus. Here is the vagina, and here is the cervix. So that basically is a kind of gross anatomy of the sex of the female reproductive system. Okay. So this is a picture coming from the textbook. Yeah, I was thinking to replace that one with this one, but I kind of forgot to delete the other one. That's okay, you know. Now with this one, we can see that I like this one better because it also shows you where is this oocyte. So again, here is the reproductive system. We have the gonads, ovaries, 2 of them here, and inside of the ovary is a place to host a lot of these oocytes. It also is a place where the oocytes mature and develop. And once the oocytes are matured, it will form this ovulation. It will throw the oocytes into the fallopian tubule or the uterine tube, fallopian tube or the uterine tube. And here it will meet the sperm. If there's no sperm, then there will be no implantation, then there will be the menstruation, like a roughly monthly bleeding. If there is a sperm to meet with oocytes, then it will complete this fertilization, then it will cause the implantation, and the embryo will be developed inside of this uterus. In the uterus, it contains very thick layer of the muscle. It's called the myometrium. That's a layer of the muscle. It also has a layer of the endometrium. These endometriums are basically considered a single layer of the epithelium cells, but it can grow, it can become vascularized regularly to kind of provide the bedding, like soft bedding for the implantation. And that is also why if there's no implantation, a lot of vascularized layer will be shedded and to be released like regularly. So that's that. All right. So the reason I like this picture is that now we see here is the oocyte, but if we look closer, we can see that each of these oocytes in fact is surrounded by a layer of another cell. This is called the follicle cell, or earlier we learned it as the glomerulosa cells. Right here, we learned it as a granulosa cells, granulosa cells. That is these layer cells, follicle cells. So in the male is the Satori to holding hand of this sperm baby to become the mature sperm. In the female, it will be the follicle cells, like and it's not like sperm. That sperm metagonia are located in the basement right here, in the basement right here, and they have to go through these. They have to go through, where is that? They have to go through a tight junction between the Satori and to become a mature sperm. So sperm has to kind of go through. In contrast, the oocytes are very much like a princess. Each one has its own palace and is surrounded by a group of kind of like maids to take care of each of these oocytes. And to help, the oocyte doesn't have to go through anything. It's surrounded. It's like its own like a palace, right? Its own room, and they're very taken care of it, for her development, right? So that's the oocytes surrounded by the follicle cells. So that's that. All right. So the ovaries are the female gonads. Two major functions are for the oocyte maturation, as well as the hormone secretion, the female sex hormone secretion. So let's look at that. So for the oocyte development, this is called the oogenesis. It coming from the oogonia, the oogonial stem cells. And these stem cells, as I mentioned, kind of briefly mentioned earlier, these stem cells produce the primary oocytes. However, these stem cells stop developing, replenish itself very soon before the birth. So after birth, there will be no oogonia. There will be no stem cell. All these stem cells will be already differentiated into the primary oocytes. So that's that. I can show you one of these picture here. Of this picture here. So here, consider this is the oogonia. So each one will kind of conduct this mitosis. We have a lot, over like 100 millions before birth. So this is birth. And before birth, each of these oogonia will be a lot, and each one will become a primary oocyte. When they become a primary oocyte, they also recruit a group of the follicle cells to surrounding them. So each one, even before birth, each one already kind of like gather its own squad. Like, so it has this group of mates to take care of them, to take care of herself, each one of these oocytes. And that's before birth. All right, so before birth, we will have no stem cell. We only have the primary oocyte right here at birth, right here. And each of these is called a primordial follicles. So that's before birth, right? So there's no stem cell. It's only young, immature, but each of these primary oocytes, and each one of these is surrounded by these follicle cells, and just sit there and waiting for the puberty. All right. Only and when the puberty comes, when the FSH is high enough, it will stimulate these follicle development, and then you have this ovulation as well as the menstrual cycle. So that's that. All right, so let's go back to this one here. So oocyte. So one thing you need to know is that oogonia doesn't exist in the female. They only exist before birth. All right. After birth, each of these oogonia already become the primary oocytes and circulated by the follicle cells. In contrast, in male, the spermatogonia, the sperm stem cells, still keep reproducing itself. So that's the main difference. All right, so the oogenesis is a process to develop these primary oocyte from the oogonia. So all this process will be complete before birth. All this process is completed before birth. Oogonia stem cells is a 2N, and through the mitosis, it will reproduce identical daughter cells a lot. And it was kind of estimated by like a 5th month in the gestational age, we will have about 7 million, something like that. Oogonia inside of the female baby, female embryo, a female infant, basically. But then they will stop reproduce themselves. They will start to differentiate into the primary oocytes. And so by the birth, there will be about 1 to 2 million primary oocytes exist at birth. So there will be no oogonia. They will be the primary oocytes at birth. This one just showing you that the primary oocytes number will peak at about 20 weeks gestational age, and then at birth, and then just gradually drop. So that's that. So the idea is that oogonia only, conduct this mitosis before birth. All right, so there are some important period that we need to know. One is that there is a term called the meiotic arrest. What's that? It means that these primary oocytes supposed to conduct this meiosis, right? Primary will be the secondary will be 2 secondary, and the 2 secondary will be 4 ovum, right? But they will stop the meiosis process before birth. So it's known that each of the primary oocytes will, once it differentiates into primary oocyte, it will start to conduct this meiosis. However, it will get arrested at the prophase. Prophase, you need to know that here I show you this picture. Sorry, I show you this picture here. That's showing you what is a prophase. If you already forgot about the cell cycle, we know that cell cycle has the G0 phase, G1 phase, and S phase, G2, and mitosis or meiosis, right? So the prophase is a phase after the S phase. S phase is the DNA replication. So G1 is, if G1 going to the G0, right? Then it won't continue on anything. But if it's G1, then it will continue with S, and then the chromosome will be duplicated, and it will prepare for cell division. And during the meiosis, if it's meiosis, it will go through the prophase, metaphase, telophase, right? And so the meiosis process will be arrested at prophase. So it means that the cell already have duplicated DNA, but it doesn't continue to pursue the metaphase. It will get arrested in the prophase. So that's what I mean here. So it will arrested in the prophase of the meiosis one, and it will stay like that. And you can see that these oocytes already have 2 copies of the DNA, and it's surrounded by the follicle cells. And so they will be keeping there until puberty. All right. So that's the meiotic arrest. Meaning that these oocytes, as well as the follicle, doesn't make any development between birth and the puberty. All right. So this one just showing you the same concept, but using a different figure to show you. So here is the age. This is the before birth. So we can see that the oogonia already complete its duplication, already complete its mitosis, but it will differentiate into the primary oocytes. So here, primary oocytes. And they will, each of these primary oocytes will recruit a group of the follicle cells and to form a squad, like it's my team and these are all my mates to taking care of me, right? So that's, And this follicle cell is also called granulosa cell. We mentioned about that. So before birth, this will be the state, and it will be arrest with no other development during the birth until the puberty. So it's like 10-something years of the time that we have a lot of the primordial follicle contains the primary oocytes sitting inside of these ovaries. So you may ask, then what stimulates their next development? That will be the puberty, right? And that will be the sex hormone. If the sex hormone reaching to a threshold, the major one will be the FSH as well as the LH. Then the primordial follicle will start to grow by that follicle stimulating hormone FSH to grow, and the oocyte will then continue its meiosis. So this is called the folliculogenesis. So this one happens only after puberty, only after we have the level of the FSH and the LH above the threshold. Then that will stimulate the granulosa cells as well as the theca cells to stimulate this follicle development. It will go from the primordial, here is the primordial, to become the primary, to become the secondary, and to become the third stage, or called the Graafian follicle. That Graafian follicle, or called the and that Graafian follicle will be the mature one to conduct the ovulation. So this is the folliculogenesis, is the process to kind of complete this oocyte meiosis, as well as the follicle, and it only happens after the age of puberty, right? So we mentioned about that meiotic arrest, and then nothing will happen during birth and puberty, and after the age of puberty, then the FSH and LH will stimulate the follicle development, and then follicle will got kind of reminded that, okay, we still need to keep this oocyte develop, right? And then the oocyte will be delivered, and for the fertilization, when it's delivered, it's called the ovulation, and waiting for the sperm coming in and complete this fertilization. One thing I want to give you the concept is that while these each time when FSH acts on it, there will be about 1,000 of the same time each month will be thousands of the primordial follicles developed at the same time. So there will be, once the FSH acts on it, it's not just acts on the selected one. It will act on, it would kind of wake up about 1,000 of them, or thousands of them. And then these thousands of this follicle will develop. However, a lot of these won't survive until the end. Only one, usually it's only one, will survive to the end. And that one will be ovulated. So we will talk about more about that detail in the next part. So this is the this is so with that with this ovulation, oocytes will complete its second meiosis. So we talked that the primary oocytes is arrested at the prophase, so it's not even divided yet at birth. Right before the ovulation, it will complete the meiosis stage 1. So primary oocyte will finally divide into the secondary oocytes and first polar body. So that primary oocyte will complete its first division to form 2 daughter cells right before the ovulation. And then the secondary oocytes, as well as this first polar body, will be degenerated. The secondary oocyte basically just take the majority of the cell nutrients, the organelles, cytosomes, into these secondary oocytes. But they at least divided, right? 2 parts. Then these secondary oocytes, along with the first polar body, will be ovulated into the fallopian tubule, waiting for fertilization. So that's a picture here. This is the oocytes got thrown into the fallopian tubule. Right before that, this primary oocyte will be divided to form the secondary oocyte and the polar body. Now altogether, because this is all surrounded by the follicle cells, so it's not going to go away. It will still remain in that protection of that. You can consider it's either guardian or the mates, right? Surrounding this secondary oocyte as well as the first polar body. So all this group of cells will be thrown into the fallopian tubule, waiting for the fertilization. Now, if the sperm does come in, sperm has to swim all the way here. When sperm does go here, does occur, does exist, then sperm will penetrate through that outer layer of this the follicular cells, enter into the oocytes and break the oocytes and to throw the DNA fused with the oocytes. If the sperm does exist, if sperm touch the oocytes will complete its second meiosis. Remember that the first meiosis is completed right before the ovulation, but it still need to complete the second meiosis. So the second meiosis only happens after the fertilization, after the sperm knock the door. Then it will complete that second ovulation, so second meiosis. So that's picture right here. So the meiosis 2 will not complete basically after the sperm goes here. So here we have the secondary oocytes that has n times 2, right? It's first after the first meiosis. Then it will get arrested at the metaphase until the sperm come in, knock the door. Then these secondary oocytes will complete this meiosis and now generate 2 daughter cells. One of the daughter cell will take all the cytoplasm, as well as all these nutrients, organelles, and to fuse with the sperm. The other one will be the second polar body, and it will be degenerated. So that's that. So the second meiosis happens after the fertilization. If there's no fertilization, then it will not continue with meiosis. It will basically just go through and be released, be disintegrated and be released, leading to the menstruation. So that's that. All right. Okay. All right. So if there's no fertilization, it will be released, cause the menstruation. If there is a fertilization, then the secondary oocyte will complete its stage 2 meiosis, and to form this ovule. Ovule is the final form of this oocyte that has finally only n other than n times 2, right? So this n will immerse with the sperm, which is only haploid. These two combine to form this zygote, and it will be the beginning of the embryo, fertilized egg. So that's that, fertilization. All right. So here is a quick summary that the oocytes, basically the life of the oocytes, begin by the oogonia, the stem cells. These stem cells only occur in the embryo, inside of the womb, right? It's not even birthed yet. And before the birth, all of these oogonia all become the primary oocytes. The sign of this primary oocyte is that they are not alone. They are surrounded by the follicle cells, and they form, each of these form the primordial follicle, and they sit in the ovaries. They are arrested at the prophase, because these primary oocytes are supposed to complete this meiosis, but they don't. They just get arrested at the first stage of the meiosis, and at the prophase. So they sit inside of this primordial follicle, inside of this ovaries, do nothing, basically just enjoy life, and until the puberty, when there is high FSH from the anterior pituitary gland, kind of like remind these granulosa cells that, okay, you are taking care of this oocyte. Now the body is mature enough to complete this meiosis. And then these oocytes will continue its meiosis, and the follicle will also get growing, and then by the time of the ovulation, this oocyte will complete its first meiosis, form one daughter cell, form two daughter cells, but one of them will become the secondary oocytes, and the polar body, the secondary oocytes, will be n times 2 here, and will get arrested again at the metaphase of the second stage, the stage 2 of the meiosis, until there's fertilization. Then this secondary oocyte will complete its meiosis, and to form this two daughter cell again. The one of that daughter cell will carry all of this good stuff, immerse with the sperm, and complete the fertilization. That's that. If there's no fertilization, then menstruation exists. So that's the oocyte. All right, so I hope that's clear enough. Let me know if you have any questions. What else? See. All right, so this basically is summary again, what we just mentioned about. So before birth, here you can see that this is the time before birth. We will form this primary oocytes. Each of these oocytes will be surrounded by the follicle cells. This follicle is called the primordial follicle, and that will get arrested before the puberty. Each month from the age of the puberty, FSH will stimulate the follicle to develop. It's called the folliculogenesis. And right before the ovulation, these primary oocytes will complete its first meiosis to form these secondary oocytes, and these secondary oocytes will get ovulated into the fallopian tube and waiting for a sperm. Once sperm coming in, this secondary oocyte will complete its secondary meiosis, and to form this ovum. Now this ovum is the haploid, that is the required gamete. Otherwise, these basically are not gametes. They are not haploid. Then this ovum will emerge, will fuse with the sperm and complete its fertilization. And this one summarized that comparing the spermatogenesis as well as the oogenesis. The spermatogenesis, each primary spermatocyte can produce 4 sperms. Not only that, this spermatogonium can reproduce itself in adult male. So we will see the mitosis as well as meiosis in an adult male of the sperm. But in the female, in the adult female, we won't see the mitosis. There will be no oogonium stem cell to replenish itself. We will see only the meiosis, that each of these primary oocytes, you know that these primary oocytes, they don't reproduce themselves anymore because they are already surrounded. Each one of them is already surrounded by the follicle cells. They live in a way very much like the princess, that they are taken care of by a group of the maids or guardians taking care of them only until they are the body is at the age of the puberty. Then each one, the primary oocytes, will form, will go through 2 stages of the meiosis. It's a standard meiosis, right? Stage 1 and stage 2. One will form 4 daughter cells in the end. Each one only have haploid of the DNA. But even though we have a total of 4 daughter cells, only one will be the one that carry all these good stuff, good of this large enough, and that is the one to mate, to merge, to fuse with the sperm, and this one is also called the ovum, haploid, and to become the mature egg. So that's that. So that could be the quiz question, that each primary spermatocyte can produce how many sperms? The answer will be 4. For each primary oocyte, each one of these can produce how many ovule, the answer will be 1. Each of these primary oocytes can only produce 1 ovule, 1 matured egg. All right, so that's that. Let me know if you have any questions.